Legalization of cannabis, weed in Canada. We are going to discuss it in this video. Stay with me here. It's going to be another great one. So let's cover 5 things you should know if you're already in Canada or if you're visiting Canada and you're just curious about how the legalization affects you as a whole. I'm just going to get into it, and we're going to do it in 4 minutes and 20 seconds on this video. So the first point is generally weed or cannabis in Canada is going to be considered much like cigarettes in the sense of private property and public property. So you can walk around in a public park and smoke cannabis or a cannabis cigarette, joint, blunt, whatever you want, and it would be similar to how you would use a cigarette. You cannot stand in front of a private property building or a storefront or something like that within 5-10 meters, and you can't smoke the joint there because there is a secondhand smoke factor, so it's much like a cigarette in that regard. So that's point number 1. Number 2, you don't need a doctor's prescription. It's no longer a medicinal prescription requirement in that sense. You just need to be 19 years of age or older. However, in a couple provinces, you can be 18 years of age and still purchase it. Number 3, no edibles. So Canada has not legalized edibles just yet. And that kind of makes sense to me because it's more of a psychedelic when you eat it as an edible. It's also harder to understand the dosing, and honestly Canada's just not quite ready for that yet, so they'll get to it, but not yet. Now CBD, if you're curious, versus THC. CBD is the non-psychoactive version of cannabis, and THC is obviously the psychoactive version, the opposing side of that. So if you're interested in purchasing cannabis, it's got to be the flower form, which I showed you at the beginning of this video, as opposed to the edible form, which is in all sorts of different types. Now number 4, it's also similar to booze. So it's similar to alcohol that you cannot smoke cannabis while driving. And funny enough, someone actually got pulled over within an hour of cannabis being legalized on October 17th, 2018. Someone got pulled over by the cops, and the cops just like, dude, you can't smoke cannabis and drive. That's just a pretty straight up simple rule that everyone should understand. So if you're going to smoke a joint, do it before you get in a vehicle, or well before you get in a vehicle. And depending how it affects you, it's a case-by-case sort of thing. It varies person to person, I'm sure. But don't smoke and drive. Number 5, something that's actually really important to note is that private properties such as condo boards, townhouses, things that have condo corporations. See, if you live in a townhouse or a condo or a loft or anything like that, I lived in a bunch of lofts before, but when you're in those, there's corporations and they set rules and they have governing bodies of how you can smoke on their territories, which is in fact people's homes. But because you're affecting other people in the building and the ventilation is all interlinked, a lot of condo boards are not allowing the use of cannabis inside condominiums, townhouses, and whatnot throughout Canada. But just how I want to wrap this up, this whole video, is it's also varying province by province and by municipality. A lot of them can opt out of having stores, so actual brick and mortar stores that people can walk into, and they can also adjust other rules. But generally speaking, this info should give you all you need to know about legalization of cannabis in Canada, and I hope it was informative to you. Give it a thumbs up if you did find it so, and share it with a friend. I will catch you again in that next one. Take care.